College Football 25 got a boatload of new information from different content creators, different articles. Now, I've gone through the liberty of reading every single tweet, watching every single video, reading every single article, so you don't have to. But before we get into that, I want to let you guys know, if you're new here, I am not an EA content creator. I'm going to try to be unbiased as possible. And honestly, I'm actually going to try to focus more on the negative stuff that we've received today, because most of the content creators that release videos are solely going to be focusing on the positives, because that's really what EA wants from them. So we're going to break things down mode by mode, because I think that's a little bit easier, with a lot of bullet points for Road to Glory and Dynasty, with more opinionated things for gameplay and stuff like that. Let's start off with Road to Glory, because I think this is where most of the negative information we received today. First off, this is a big one. No high school gameplay for Road to Glory. So how things are going to work is you are going to just simply choose the recruiting star ranking. You want 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. That is going to determine your starting overall. There also are only 5 positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, middle linebacker, and cornerback. So no safety, no outside linebacker or pass rusher, which is really unfortunate for, again, a game that has been in development for multiple years. I would have liked to seen even offensive linemen if you wanted that, but mainly the high school aspect of it, I think, really negates the natural storylines that Road to Glory usually offers, where, again, you can go all out and go off in your high school games, get a 4 and 5 star, but even at that, you won't be offered by every single school, whereas it seems like kind of how it is now, you're kind of just going to choose your overall, choose your like a predetermined storyline almost, and then of course you're just going to choose your school. Road to Glory has also been described as a 10 to 20 hour story mode, which again, I think Road to Glory is best suited for a not like you create the storyline. None of this EA cutscene stuff, none of this Face of the Franchise stuff from Madden. That's where I think Face of the Franchise in Madden has been extremely bad, whereas Road to Glory back in NCAA 14, it was more you create what is happening, you create the storyline, and it's less controlled by EA and more controlled by the player. But Road to Glory is going to focus on managing 5 areas of focus, being academics, leadership, brand, health, and training. Starting off with academics, and for all of these areas of focus, you're going to be allocating time, not actually spending time doing these actual things. Like for academics, you're not actually taking tests, but rather you are allocating time towards the academic area of focus, and this will help you with mental abilities on the field. And a fun little thing to note, you actually can be academically ineligible. The health area is going to help with the wear and tear system. I'll talk a little bit more of that for gameplay, but just for a quick summary, not getting injured. Leadership is going to help with positional battles and rising the depth charts. Positional battles and depth chart stuff like that, it's all going to be resolved in mini games. So if you played Madden 24, they had a whole thing saying mini games are back. Mini games now are going to be implemented in that part of College Football 25. The brand area focus is where the NIL comes into play, where you can boost your following and your fans. You can choose NIL deals also that will help with certain attributes. For example, one of them was you heal faster when you sign with this. I think there was some type of healing company. I don't know exactly what it was. And then finally, the training area focus is simply going to help you boost ratings and your skill tree. That one, pretty obvious. There's this thing that is called dynamic scenarios, which will have positive and negative effects on the 5 areas of focus. One example given of this was choosing between helping a teammate study for a test or watching film. That will again help with positional battles or academics. And then some quick little nuggets of information. Redshirting does exist, so you can technically play 5 years. Redshirting means you play 4 or less games. You can't technically force a redshirt, but you can tank your way in practice and in games to where you aren't earning playing time and thus playing less than 4 games and will be given a redshirt. And the transfer portal is going to act like a second recruitment phase. One little cool thing to note, based on the allocated times of the 5 areas of focus, you will have certain schools target you more than others. For example, if you allocate a lot of time towards academics, you'll most likely see a school like Vanderbilt offer you in the transfer portal. Overall, my opinion on Road to Glory hasn't changed too much, although I have to admit, the no high school thing definitely sucks, and I would not be, so that's probably been the most backlash today amongst the College Football 25 news, and I would not be shocked if that is their highlighting improvement towards Road to Glory in NCAA Football 26. Now moving on to Dynasty, I would say the flagship game mode in College Football 25. Definitely the mode they have put the most time and effort into. Starting off with a few kind of things that I think people kind of already know. There is a 32-person online Dynasty limit. So again, max of 32 players. There is no online Dynasty crossplay. So if you have Xbox, you cannot play with PlayStation players and vice versa. Dynasty, there is a 30-season cap. Now, I don't know what the cap was in NCAA 14, but people are complaining about it, so I'd have to assume, that was a little bit higher in NCAA 14. Custom conferences are back, so you can do the whole realignment thing, bring back the Pac-12, bring back other old-school conferences. Custom schedules are back. This one, for me, is a favorite because I love scheduling. Honestly, powerhouses on the road, because I love just seeing the cool little traditions. Playing at Notre Dame, playing at Alabama was always one of my favorite things to do back in the day. Once again, you could start your career as an offensive and defensive coordinator. Coaching carousel also confirmed in the offseason. And a new thing, you have an ability to hire and fire coordinators if you are the head coach. Speaking of the head coach as well as the coordinators, you are going to choose between one of three archetypes: motivator, recruiter, or tactician. Obviously, those are going to have their positive and negative effects. Now, getting into a little bit about recruiting, there are going to be 4,000 recruits each year with exactly 32 5-stars for each class. Recruiting pitch grades return 14 different ones. This time, again, those are things like location of school, tradition, and stuff like that. You will, of course, be able to build up those pitch grades from an F all the way up to an A+ as the years go on with your dynasty. One cool thing to note that was talked about: recruits that you failed to get a commitment from but also spent a lot of time in the initial high school recruiting phase will remember that if they once again enter the transfer portal, and you're more likely to get them commit then. You will also have a decision to allocate hours either into high school recruiting or transfer portal recruiting in the offseason. The early signing period also exists, as well as recruiting visits as well, where you can design which areas to focus on when a recruit comes to visit in order to hope to land them as a prospect. Now, getting into the transfer portal, players will enter the transfer portal based on how well you are living up to their deal breakers, meaning fulfilling promises that you made to them during the original recruitment phase, like playing time. There will be a way to know throughout the year the risk factor of a player entering the transfer portal in the offseason. And last little thing, there is no NIL in Dynasty mode, but it's a little bit complicated with the whole NCAA and getting individual teams. Again, NIL is very still new and fresh to the college football landscape, so I didn't really expect it to be too big of a deal in Dynasty, but again, it's good to see it in the Road to Glory mode. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning, Dynasty seems to be the flagship mode that College Football 25 is designed around. It's going to be the mode that people play the most. It's the reason why people are getting college football. It's the mode that really separates and differentiates itself from Madden, where Madden franchise really is the laughing stock, you would say, of that game, whereas Dynasty is the pride of the College Football 25 community. One thing also to mention, a lot of people were talking about, it seems to be much harder to build a smaller program into a powerhouse. It is not going to be a one-year turnaround where you take Western Michigan and start recruiting 4- and 5-star players after just 1 year of positive results on the field. It is going to take years and years and years of building up that program. Now on to presentation. Now a little bit less information here, but this has just been more. Presentation was honestly probably the thing revealed the most during the initial trailer, but a few things. There are going to be 134 unique playbooks for each team. There also, and this kind of also is a little bit of gameplay, there will be custom playbooks. Don't know how custom they're going to be, but this is like the first time in many, many years we've had custom playbooks in a football game. This one definitely hurts, but no ESPN score bugs in like presentation for the game. Yeah, the kid in me, this was like one of my favorite things for the old school NCAAs, and honestly, I think this will be something that will definitely be added because they have Kirk Herbstreit, they have Chris Fowler, they have ESPN commentators on the game, so it feels really weird that they don't have the ESPN presentation and graphics and all that stuff, but I have a feeling based on the hype and excitement for college football that I don't think EA was initially anticipating. I think we probably get the ESPN score bugs in future games, probably as soon as College Football 26. Notable songs and walkout, just, jingles are missing from some teams like Enter Sandman and Virginia Tech and Jump Around with Wisconsin, but there's also Darude Sandstorm with South Carolina that is in the game, and other notable things. So it's kind of, you know, I've heard Mo Bamba is in the game for Penn State and stuff like that. So definitely very hit or miss. They talked a lot about just not being able to afford certain songs and stuff like that, which is a little bit disheartening considering you're EA Sports, you're a billion-dollar company. This is, again, a game that's been in development again for 3-4 years, but been waiting for 10 years. I would have liked to see them shovel out the money for the little stuff like that. No mascot mode was revealed, I think a few weeks ago, but, you know, confirmed today. Graphics, though, are noticeably really good according to people. One thing I read a few weeks ago with the initial reveal, there's a new lighting system that they've talked about a lot, that they're really prideful about, the development team, and it really makes the different starting times of football game, like, it looks different. A 3 p.m. game looks different than a 7 p.m. game, stuff like that. So I think the graphics, honestly, the presentation, the graphics, the immersion into college football is really going to carry this game. And then last thing about presentation, this almost is a funny joke because they used to talk about this, and I was a nut for this as a kid back, I think, when they first brought this into the game, like in NCAA 12. But people have talked about the grass looking really good, like almost 3D. Like, again, that was like brought into the game in NCAA 12. It's like, hey, if you go into the replays, the grass is 3D, and people are talking about the grass, man. They say the grass looks good, turf looks like turf. Take that for what it is. That, again, is worse. So graphics, I think the graphics, people are really talking about how this game looks next gen. There's no Xbox One and PS4 version of this game. This is just solely the current gen version. That's the only way the only system they're releasing this game on, which is brand new. Like, all Maddens and all EA Sports games have been released on multiple gens of consoles. So this is the first time they've been on that one console. And people are saying graphically, they've really been able to focus on only the 2 consoles they're releasing it on, and it is noticeable in game. And honestly, it's one of the things I'm most excited for. But now getting into gameplay, this is the part of the video where a lot of this stuff is going to be more so opinions on if I think this stuff is good and bad. We also probably have gotten the least amount of information regarding just modes and stuff. Gameplay's been the least talked about. We're supposed to be getting, I think, more gameplay information in the coming days. So take that for what it is. But here are my notes on gameplay. Gameplay this is from a dev, 30% faster than Madden. Personally, I think this is a W. Madden has almost become very slow and sluggish ever since we went to this just next generation of consoles. So hopefully the gameplay is more of the speed of, you know, Madden 21 and Madden 20 and Madden 19. And while those games, you know, won't necessarily are good, I would say just smoother and faster gameplay just feels better in a player's hand, in the controller. Multiple creators have mentioned that this game is definitely offensive focused and defenses are going to struggle, especially, and again, we're going back to that gameplay is 30% faster. Multiple reports of, you know, the fast quarterbacks being really fast, and I'm a little bit worried. If you played Madden 24, you'll know how bad the rollout cheese is, and people have already been talking about how overpowered Jalen Milroe is, and while I don't necessarily say that's a bad thing or a good thing, I would definitely say it's a bad thing in terms of head-to-head, and I'll talk more about my general thoughts on gameplay, but it definitely feels like gameplay is going to be still abused in, like, the head-to-head environment, whereas, you know, the offline environment, the sim environment, I think that's where this gameplay is really going to shine. A new wear and tear system, which was originally announced with the trailer, very complicated, so I'm going to try to describe it as best as possible. One person described it as, it is designed to limit players from spamming the same play over and over again by decreasing attributes after repeated hits to the same area. So, also noted, like, the wear and tear system is quite literally, like, each body part is a different section, and, like, if your quarterback takes repeated hits to the right side of his body, like, it's gonna affect him throwing, like, that detail. Now, my opinion on the wear and tear system, I don't think this is going to be liked by the head-to-head community. Like, from a standalone game perspective, I just load in to a head-to-head game, UCLA versus USC, just a one-game thing. I think the wear and tear system is going to be very annoying, having to sub players in and out, again, in just a standalone head-to-head environment. But for the sim community and the Dynasty community, for people that want a realistic experience, I think this is going to revolutionize the game. So it's kind of two ends of the spectrum, whereas the head-to-head community, where I'm probably more of, we probably aren't going to be big fans of it. It's probably more going to be of an annoyance than anything. Whereas, you know, the Dynasty community and the ones that are more of a casual gamer in the offline community, it's probably going to really appreciate this, and it's really going to bring a new dynamic to gameplay as a whole. A meter-based passing system has been implemented into the game. It is not like the freeform system used in Madden, although I would love to have seen the freeform system because I just think it's awesome in Madden. Completely different. Typical options like tapping a button will float a pass, holding the button down will be a bullet pass. But holding a button down for too long will result in an inaccurate pass. The best way I can describe it, someone also described it in one of the articles, very similar to like baseball and MLB The Show, where you feel the ball and you're going to hold it down. You want to kind of get it in that green window that's 3/4, but if you hold it down too long, it's going to be red, and that will be where the inaccurates come from. Throwing meter also is skill rating dependent, so the worse overall your quarterback is, the harder it is to time it in that little green window. A little bit out of the blue, but linebackers are confirmed to be able to jump in the air without an ability. Like, it was noted that someone said in the article, linebackers seemingly jump 40 feet in the air, which if you've been playing Madden, it was an issue for a few years now that linebackers did not jump. This is an absolute positive for the game, especially with how they've talked about, it's offensive focus and defenses are really going to struggle. Well, linebackers being able to actually intercept the ball and you not have to basically force sub in a safety at linebacker to do the thing that just a linebacker should normally do is always a positive for the game. Now getting into abilities and X Factors. So X Factors do not exist, but each player, I don't know if this was described correctly because I doubt each player is going to have what they call 8 abilities, that being 5 physical abilities and 3 mental abilities. Very vague in the one person that described abilities. It feels like they weren't really allowed to talk about it, but this one website definitely did. It's definitely more attribute based. I don't think there's going to be things such as velocity abilities. It was mentioned again, the mental ability, actually no, 4 mental abilities, like physical abilities, like just again boosting attributes in clutch situations. So I don't think abilities are going to be like they are in Madden, but honestly, we're probably going to get more information on this in the coming days, in the coming weeks. Very vague. But yeah, that's all we got for abilities. They did mention mental abilities include a pre-snap one, where quarterbacks can diagnose a coverage based on the alignment of the defense, although it is not 100% and can be wrong at times. They mention if a quarterback sees, I think, 4 high safeties, there's a 4 that goes above the DBs that is trying to tell you that it is cover 4. Personally, this sounds a little bit too much like Omaha. Definitely not even close to what Omaha is, but anything that kind of takes away the skill of reading a defense pre-snap from the user, it just takes away from the overall skill gap of the game. So yeah, that's really the only mental ability that was revealed, that was talked about. So yeah, abilities, I'm a little bit scared for them. So that's where we're at right now. One new thing though that definitely seems pretty cool: customizable hot routes. Mentioned in, for examples, a 35-yard post and a 10-yard dig. So not just your typical hot routes, but you can like customize them literally on the fly. I don't know if you're going to type in a number, for, a 20-yard corner route, 20-yard post route, or there's just kind of like, extra menus, like you double tap right in the D-pad and it brings up an extra 4 different post routes that, differentiate in terms of yards, but definitely pretty cool. There's a new pass protection system that includes not only the full slides, like slide right, slide left that we're accustomed to, but half slides. Honestly, this is probably going to result in more broken blitzes in the online stuff, but still, it's cool to see that there's new stuff like that in the game. Probably the thing I am most excited for is the defensive switch stick. The best way I can compare this to is FIFA, meaning, right, if you are playing FIFA and you flick the stick to the right on defense, it is going to transfer you to the player that is directly to the right of you. Whereas in Madden, you would pretty much just click B or A, and I think it would just go like in a clockwise or counterclockwise order, when you click B, 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 or you'd have to click B and then go up. It was very, very hard to do. People have talked about this like being really like game-changing. You're almost able to user 2 players at once. You have 2 middle linebackers in the middle field because it is that responsive. And, you click right to go to the right middle linebacker, right back to the left middle linebacker, and you could like just drag them into areas you want them to. So could be game-changing on the defensive side of the ball. And some quick things to note that weren't really talked about much, but have been briefly mentioned. A new kicking system that is more side-to-side meter, that is definitely harder to master. And then a new physics-based tackling system. People have mentioned that hit sticks are, they feel more rewarding and more realistic. So take that for what it is. That's to me, that's just more corporate talk. In general, I definitely do have a strong opinion on gameplay. It feels to me, and this really, I guess, is going to end the video and all the information we've talked about in today's video. It feels to me like College Football 25, definitely in the 2 to 3 years they focused on development, definitely focused on Dynasty and Road to Glory, whereas gameplay, and this kind of makes sense as a company, gameplay, for the most part, it is going to be very similar to Madden. It's going to be along the same engine, just be faster, but they probably didn't develop gameplay for 3 years, because why would you? Because if they started development, think of it, they started development 3 years ago, they would be going based off the Madden 21 or Madden 22 base game, whereas they probably just let the Madden developers kind of, you know, evolve the technology with gameplay over the last few years, and they probably only started really focusing on trying to customize and make the gameplay experience unique to college football from only a year ago. So, and again, this is just an assumption, sorry, I can't speak this morning. But gameplay as it is, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Gameplay, for the most part, in Madden is controlled by abilities. So for the most part, if college football gameplay has nothing to do with abilities, then it already is an entirely different gameplay experience from Madden. But yeah, the last thing I would also say, I definitely feel like the head-to-head experience, and I've already mentioned this with the wear and tear system, I feel like the head-to-head experience of gameplay is still going to be very exploited and cheesy in the sense, again, they've already talked about it being an offensive-focused game. We know how offensive-focused the last few Maddens are. Just very hard to get stops. They just, defensive-wise, when it comes to defending RPOs, zones really being just cones on the field. It's very hard to get stops, so I definitely see the head-to-head meta, you would say, like the meta gaming that is 2024. I still think head-to-head gameplay is going to be very similar to Madden, where people are going to run the meta stuff, and there's going to be cheesy blitzes, and it's going to be very similar. However, I think the offline experience and the more casual player, the sim-based player, is really going to fall in love with the college football gameplay. That is my prediction. Again, this is not like any news. I have not played the game at all. I'm just going based on what I have heard and what I assume happened with the development of gameplay and where they focus their time. So again, this is more opinion based, not fact based, but I think the offline player, the sim player, is going to really appreciate the gameplay, whereas the head-to-head player is it's just gonna be your more typical Madden gameplay, where people are gonna be running for the most part the same formations and stuff like that. And hopefully it's unique. Hopefully it's a completely different experience from Madden Online, whether it is Madden Ultimate Team or Madden head-to-head. But overall, as much as I've complained a little bit about the little things in this video, I am so excited I can't express my excitement for college football. It really was the game. I loved college football before the video game, before Madden. So, you know, it's really not 3-4 years in the making. It is a 10-year plus game in the making, and I can't wait for more information. Can't wait for there to be gameplay footage on the interweb. And if you enjoyed this video, comment. If you have any questions, though, I probably won't be able to answer most of them. I was just really relaying information. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you were new, and until next time, peace.